our interruptions, unneeded interruptions during the next few minutes. In April of this year, County Administrator Ray Bauer notified the Board of Commissioners of a potential credit card charge that was in question by Sheriff Brave. And this was in April. I want to ask Ray Bauer what he did as a result of being notified by our finance department regarding this charge. Mr. Bauer.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Ray Bauer. I'm the county administrator. As part of our routine annual audit, auditors check every credit card transaction and match them up with receipts. I was notified by our auditors that there was an unusual credit card transaction with Sheriff Brave. If we allowed tickets. And I said, no, that wasn't the case. That's not allowable under county policy. So I asked to meet with Sheriff Brave. There was another matter I was meeting with him about unrelated to this. We met in my office. Human Services was present. A representative from our Human Services Department was present. I asked him about the credit card. When I pulled the backup for the credit card, not only did it show a even more space seat, which is analogous to a first class seat, except it's on JetBlue Airlines, so they call it an even more space seat. And I asked him, because there was no backup, who went with him. He indicated to me that it was a Deputy McKnight went with him in this trip to Florida. And what struck me as unusual was that it was one hotel room with one king size bed. And so I jokingly asked him, you know, how did the sleeping arrangements work out? But I had the feeling that something just wasn't right in his response. So I contacted our finance department, asked them to reach out to JetBlue Airlines and determine who was the second ticket. Who was the second ticket? We knew Mark Brave was the first ticket. Who was the second ticket? And it turned out that it was not Deputy McKnight. It was a female employee from the Sheriff Department. I might pronounce her name, but Fresenia Veras went on that flight. So I was immediately concerned. I reached out to the county attorney, telling him that I thought that there was something that needed to be investigated. He in turn reached out to the public integrity unit of the Attorney General's office. And so began the investigation. I then subsequently notified the county commissioners of what I had found and what the process was. So they weren't involved at all in the investigation, nor were they involved in reaching out to the county attorney or to the Attorney General. That was my job, and I did my job. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that I'm the one that reported it, and the commissioners did not know about it till subsequent to the county attorney and I reaching out, actually the county attorney reaching out to the public integrity unit of the Attorney General's office.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Attorney Velarde, do you have anything you want to add at this point?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. On June 2nd, the county commissioners received a notification from the Attorney General's office, their public integrity unit, that the sheriff was being investigated for a number of serious criminal activities. Those activities included theft, falsification in official matters, and abuse of office. He was also instructed by the Attorney General at the time not to take any specific actions that would compromise their investigation. Commissioners received that communication on June 2nd. On June 6th, the Board of Commissioners met with Sheriff Brave, the county attorney, and the county administrator. And consistent with county policy, we collectively asked Sheriff Brave at that time to put himself on administrative leave pending the outcome of this investigation. The sheriff took it under advisement and notified us the following day that he would not put himself on administrative leave. He felt he had done nothing wrong, and he just refused to do so. Now, this is the standard policy that I'm speaking to you about. We used it twice in his own department this year, asking people to go out on paid administrative leave for accusations that involve legal activity. And it happens with an organization with 600 employees. It happens somewhat frequently with our employees. So this is our standard practice. We didn't change anything for Sheriff Brave. We just offered it to him and he refused. Last Thursday, we learned, when the public learned, the extent of the activities and the investigation by the Attorney General regarding the charges that were being lodged against Sheriff Brave. We had no prior knowledge to that investigation, only to know that it was an ongoing situation. We learned when the public learned. So with that said, the hallmark of one of the hallmarks to our system in our country here is folks have the presumption of innocence till proven guilty. As a result of that, the commissioners have discussed with legal counsel the steps that we might take as a result of what's happening. Now, you all need to recognize that in the criminal justice system, people are entitled to bail. There were bail conditions set on Sheriff Brave. Those bail conditions included non-contact orders with practically this entire operation. Mostly his command staff, the 8 top individuals in his command staff, and basically the entire administration of this building, except for the county commissioners. We were not named, having him not to have any contact with us while this case moves forward. It is in the opinion of the commission, after conferring with legal counsel, that it is impossible for the sheriff to exercise his constitutional right to run that office when he can't have contact with his staff. It's just as simple as that. And he can't have contact with the administration of the county based on his bail conditions. So the commissioners have decided that we are going to offer him, again, a paid leave of absence like we do all other county employees. And he will have till noontime tomorrow to comply. If he does not, then the county commissioners are prepared to petition the county delegation for his removal, simply because he cannot function in that job based on what's going on. And we want to at least strengthen the integrity of our operation. And for those folks who work in that department, we have a concern for their employment. We have concern for retaliation that may take place. We have concerns about witness tampering. We have other concerns that could come out of his remaining there permanently. We also believe it's in his interest to reconsider, although he has said this publicly, this will be the 3rd time we have offered him the opportunity to go out on administrative leave. We offered it to him once in June when we first got the letter from the Attorney General. He refused then. Last Thursday, when we heard of his arrest, we had our legal counsel reach out to him, our labor counsel, and asked him to ask him again to step down administratively until case is adjudicated. He refused then. So this will be the third time, but this time we're asking him publicly to do so, to do the right thing and to go on administrative leave. And as I said earlier, there is just no way that office can function under these circumstances. And the county commissioners have a fiduciary responsibility to the people of Strafford County to ensure that this operation has the utmost and maintains the utmost integrity. There's been a number of other instances that have happened and brought to the commissioner's attention. That's all this has been going on regarding the sheriff as well. He just made a recent purchase again on his credit card for as I understand, a nightclub named Attica in Lawrence, Massachusetts. And this pains me to say this, but it's just the facts. Recently in June, we had a golf tournament that was for our Make-A-Wish program at the nursing home. Now, this program we fundraise for. And we hold a golf tournament every year, and we try to raise between $10,000 and $15,000 for those folks who are in the nursing home who, in the twilight of their lives, have a last request. Sheriff Brave participated in that tournament, and he wrote a check to us for him and his foursome, which were all county employees, to participate in the golf tournament, and we were appreciative of his support. He wrote us a check for $600. That check has bounced. And so we are trying to collect that $600 as well. So that's just some things that have just happened since last Thursday that were brought to our attention. So with that said, at this point, the chair is going to entertain a motion for my colleagues to request and have the sheriff reconsider going on administrative leave till noontime tomorrow. And if not, we will start a proceeding for a petition for his removal. Motion.
Yes, I'll make the motion to request that give Sheriff Brave the opportunity again to step down with paid leave. And give him until noon tomorrow to make a decision. If not, then I'll make the motion to move forward through the petition to have him removed to office.
Second. Any further discussion from colleagues? Not hearing then, the chair will call a roll on the motion offered by Commissioner Roll. Commissioner Roll?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson? Yes. Myself, yes. The vote is unanimous. Mr. Attorney, do you have anything more you wish to add to this?
Not at this stage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The chair will reach out to the chairman of the delegation after tomorrow by noon to notify the chairman of the delegation the decision that we received from Sheriff Brave. And then we will also be in touch with media as it relates to if in fact that petition moves forward. Again, we hope that Sheriff Brave reconsiders our offer. We all consider him a friend. He has the presumption of innocence, and we think he should take the time to spend the time off to prepare his defense. So with that, I'll take a few questions relative to this item. You'll have to identify yourself and tell me where you're from. Yeah.
Thank you, Christopher Rice from Rochester. I guess I just am questioning why I have a couple questions, why his credit card has not been shut off. You didn't mention that, so if you want to allude to if it has been shut off, which I assume that you guys are taking those precautions. Secondly, if he goes out on paid administrative leave, I think most of us in this room read a 24-page document that came from the Attorney General's office this weekend. What is going to happen with the Sheriff's Department and the integrity of running that department? There were a lot of names that were top-level names listed in that document. What can you three commissioners and the board do to ensure that us citizens have the right to participate in not necessarily selecting, because that is your right to do, but to provide transparency on who you select to be the next sheriff, or to at least fulfill the duties of the sheriff if he does go out on paid leave. That is my biggest concern, is that this isn't going to be some kind of hunt to get him out of office, to put someone that you guys like. I'm not accusing you of doing that. I just would like the presumption of transparency to be there for the citizens of Strafford County.
Two things, its credit card's been canceled. As well as the credit card of a couple of high-ranking people from his office.
Sure.
That has been done. That's my responsibility. I do that. So yep. I know for a fact it's been done. Secondarily, the selection of a replacement or temporary replacement by statute is a public event voted on by the county legislative delegation.
Yes.
So it would be announced, it would be publicized, and everybody, it's an open meeting with open votes.
I guess my question is more tailored towards, if he does take this administrative paid leave,
yeah,
who is the commission or the delegation, because there's no state law that covers this specific, if he takes a paid leave, who is going to step into the role to be the high sheriff and to run the office on a day-to-day operation?
I can only give you history, okay, because as you've mentioned, there's little precedent.
Sure.
Historically, when we've had a vacancy, when with the saddening death of Leo Lassard, yep, as commissioner, we accept resumes, and those resumes are then reviewed by the delegation, and the delegation then would vote for a
sure,
temporary replacement. I don't see any reason, unless the county attorney seeks to correct me, that this would be any different.
No, that's consistent with what's in RSA 661:9, based on the timing of when, if this were to occur, the timing of when an elected official would be leaving an unexpired term.
Sure. Well, thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you for taking the time.
Susan Rice, Rochester, New Hampshire. You guys have mixed words. You used elected official and you used employee, and there's a distinct difference. And I don't want to see us go down this path. We all know who his attorneys are, and they're pretty sharp, of us getting hung up on elected official and employee, and we're offering him a paid administrative leave for an employee when I believe technically he's an elected official. And I'm glad to hear, but I think the donkey is out of the barn at this point. When you first knew that there was problems with those credit cards and that you didn't shut them off immediately, and that he was allowed to continue for a period of time afterwards. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted that there's a recent charge that comes out today that he's charged $600 or whatever it was to a nightclub down in Lawrence.
No, well, don't get them confused. He wrote a check
for 600, but he used his credit card for something down in Massachusetts.
I can't unilaterally take action until there's proof. The proof came on Thursday from the Attorney General's office. I can't speculate. I can't speculate about what might happen. Now, remember, the Attorney General's investigation, we weren't privy to that investigation. The Attorney General's office operates totally independently from the county. So until Thursday, when the arrest came, I had no basis to cancel anything for anybody.
Okay. Is there any, Lou?
My name is Lou Archibald. I live in Rochester. This is just a private citizen, but back in 2020, before the election, I wrote a letter. I sent it to the newspapers, the Rochester Voice and the Fosters. Rochester Voice was the only one that printed it. And basically, I looked up his resume timeline that he provided. It was accessed to everybody. And the job titles that he mentioned, he was a police sergeant, auxiliary bureau in Lawrence, Mass, an unarmed position. He spent 50 months with this city. I don't need to waste anyone's time reading about non-accomplishments. It's 116 months of doing building security and crossing guard details on top of that. 2016, he joined the Rochester Police Department. He didn't notice any accomplishments or involvement in normal police interactions, either criminal or domestic situations. He completed 16 of the 24 months required by contract with the city of Rochester. He was immediately hired to the Strafford County Sheriff's Department at 16 months. Here he began his meteoric rise through the food chain. Sorry for the use of food chain, but in 42 months, Lieutenant Brave has gone from Strafford County deputy to lieutenant for professional standards and training. He also included CALEA manager, which is accreditation management certification, which I looked up. And it's programs to provide public safety agencies to meet with established professional staff, established standards. I don't think he had a clue as what that was. It'd be like me putting down that I'm a waste management coordinator because I take my trash to the side of the road. He now believes he's a viable candidate for sheriff. Local and state media have reported some of the proposals he intended to implement. Working with Indonesian people down in, folks down in Somersworth, I believe, or whatever. These have been the least likely to have negative interactions with police. With that was back in 2020. So after hearing some of this other stuff now in 2023, I wrote, it went to the Rochester Voice, which they printed it. And basically, when Strafford County Commissioners made the decision to transfer a Rochester, New Hampshire police officer, Mark Brave, to the Strafford County Sheriff's Department, they failed in the process of due diligence. Due diligence is a process or effort to collect and analyze information before making a decision or conducting transactions so a party is not held legally liable for any loss or damage. Was Mark's Brave's own resume thoroughly validated by these officials? The city of Rochester citizenry funded Mark Brave's attendance to New Hampshire Police Academy. He was also mandated to serve a required amount of time on the Rochester PD, 24 months. Should he not complete this agreement, he would be required to reimburse the city. Was this agreement completed when he was transferred to the Sheriff's Department? If not, how or by whom was this funding reimbursed? I'm a tax-paying citizen of Rochester. Furthermore, once he transferred, he soon laterally moved to training officer. What an affront to seasoned officers. As likely officers, these officers would be least likely to speak out. Why? They are fully aware their livelihood depends on their silence. The commissioners were only looking for 2 blocks on his resume to fill the criteria. I'm sorry, and this went through the newspapers and other things too, but perhaps there was a word reporting on tokenism or whatever, token guideline that he allegedly claims. But basically, he may have been used as a token just by not looking into what he was involved with and what he could legally do and what he was trained for. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. I think that there's only one point I want to make. I don't tend to run a meeting here where we revilify the sheriff. That's not the purpose of the meeting. However, I do want to make, based on what you just said, the county commissioners do not hire deputy sheriff. That's the sole purview of the sheriff. All we do is we pass a budget for X number of positions within the department, but it is the sheriff that hires who he wishes to hire as deputies. It has nothing to do with the county commissioners. The county, that's a separate and distinct balance of power that's outlined by Supreme Court rule. So I'm just letting you know.
Well, I'm basically saying I'm not worried about who he hired. I'm worried about the fact that nothing was challenged on what he wrote about himself in his public resume.
Well,
And that's what it is. And people have if I could find it, Foster's could find it, everybody could find it. Nobody could find it. Nobody did anything about it. That's all I'm saying.
okay,
And he's elected, so you can elect anybody.
that's true.
But when you back it up to the level that there was a lot of coercion in there about why he should be sheriff, there was only two factors that they needed to apply on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the room that wishes to ask a question?
Yeah, Crystal Parody Catanzaro. I'm a resident in Somersworth, former city councilor in Somersworth as well. Thank you for mentioning that someone is innocent until proven guilty. Just a minute ago, it was said that proof was presented on Thursday. I think we all know that this trial hasn't even begun yet. And I just want to know what message you think it sends to break precedent and remove someone from elected office based solely on an allegation.
We're not breaking precedent. We're asking him, our precedent is to put people on administrative leave when they have these types of circumstances. Anyone who works for the county, even though the sheriff is elected, he's still a county employee. And there are certain policies he has to follow. Now we're offering him the opportunity because he's elected. If he was not elected, he would be out on administrative leave right now. But because he's elected, we apply deference to that, and that's why we're requesting of him to do so. There's nothing different than what we do with anyone else. We've been doing that here for a very, very long time. So when the statute, really, when you think about it, Sheriff Brave is leaving us little or no alternative in terms of a petition for removal. We're asking him to step aside administratively while this case is adjudicated. We've done it twice before. He's refused. He cannot have contact with anyone in his office. If it is, it's a violation of his bail conditions. He could go to jail practically immediately for doing so. So it's not like he can just, he can just run the department from his home. He can't be in touch with any of the finance department of the county. He can't be in touch with a bunch of other people. So he cannot fulfill his duties as a result of what's occurred. This is because we have a strong belief of innocence and proven guilty until he's proven guilty. For him to go on administrative leave makes the most sense for not only for us, but for the integrity of the office. It's just as simple as that.
So if he refuses to go on paid administrative leave, though, you said you would start the petition to remove him from office. If he then is found innocent in the court of law, is there a process to reverse that and reinstate him?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He'd be reinstated. He would be reinstated. Yeah, I don't see if it occurs within his term. It just was that.
He'd absolutely be reinstated.
Yeah, he would absolutely be reinstated. Yeah.
I'm sure that would be a condition of any effort to remove.
Sure, absolutely. But I just think I think when you sit back and you look at it, it's collectively in everyone's interest for him just to take administrative leave. I don't think the county delegation wants us to go through protracted process and removal. It's not something that we take lightly. It's just an easier thing. It's first of all, he's going to get paid. All right, he runs the risk if the delegation votes to remove him, that he will not be paid. That just doesn't make a lot of sense when you really think about it. And that's the only thing we're requesting of him. He'll continue with his benefits, just like we do with every other county employee. And we'll just see what his reaction is. But he would be reinstated, in my opinion, if he's found innocent, depending on the nature of when that occurs. And if it occurs. But you remember, we get an election next year. Sometimes I've seen these things drag out in court for years. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else in the room have a question for the commissioners? Okay, is there anybody online who wish to ask a question? Justin, is anybody indicating they want to? I'll be available for the chairman, as chairman, I'll be available to any of the media afterwards if they have any further follow-up questions they wish to ask.
I have no requests.
No requests? Okay. All right, then the chair will now entertain another motion to move into non-public session then.
So moved.
Move a second, roll call, Commissioner Rolo, Commissioner Watson, and myself. The commission now will retire to executive session to discuss more personnel issues. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.